As a financial advisor, one of the things that I'm obsessed with is why do some people have retirement experiences that are absolutely incredible, while others fall into a rut of depression when they ultimately retire? And having worked with hundreds of retirees in my career, I found that there's common patterns of the happiest retirees. So I started to see that in a very real sense, retirement happiness can be as simple as doing what other happy retirees do. So in this video, we're going to discuss the 5 things that happy retirees do daily so you can live a more fulfilling and enjoyable retirement. The first thing that they do is they reflect. And this probably isn't in the top 5 or even top 10 that you might initially think about, but happy retirees reflect. And this is first because in my mind, this is one of the most important things that you can do. Oftentimes, I'll encourage people to journal in retirement. Now, a lot of this comes from a book called The One Thing. And The One Thing, it makes the point that activity is often unrelated with productivity. Now, that's typically thought of in the business sense of are we doing a lot of things in business at work that aren't actually driving us forward towards our desired goal. But productivity can also be thought about in the personal sense, in the sense of how effective are you with your time. You're going to have 24 hours a day that are completely yours. What are you doing with those 24 hours? And oftentimes with journaling, one of the things that I like doing most is I like sitting down in the morning and saying, what's the most important thing that I can do today? To pull a quote directly from that One Thing book, it says, what's the one thing such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or irrelevant? Now that's oftentimes with a business application. What can I do from a business standpoint such that everything else becomes easier or irrelevant? But from the personal side, what can that mean too? If I want a better relationship with my spouse, what's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier? If I want to be healthier, what's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier? So for example, if it's health, maybe it's joining a basketball league. You don't like going to the gym, you don't like spending 30, 40, 50 minutes working out, but what if you made it fun? Well, maybe the one thing that you could do is join a basketball league, join a pickleball league, join something with friends because it's easier, it's fun, and such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier in terms of your health journey. So that's just a specific example, but this is something I like to think about almost every morning of what are the things that I want to make sure I get done. And ultimately, this connects to the bigger picture of what do I value most, and that's another good journal exercise. What's most important to you in retirement? Is it your relationship with your spouse? Is it adventure? Is it your faith? Is it things that you want to do that you didn't have a chance to do while you were working? Start by understanding that. Don't go into retirement and think that just because you're not going to have an alarm clock and you can travel whenever you want, you're going to magically become happier. Reflection is a huge part of what makes happy retirees happy. So do that in the morning. Think about what are the things that I can do today to move closer towards the things that matter most to me. Not from a productivity standpoint with business, but from an effectiveness standpoint of how can I most effectively use my time to maximize my time on this earth and what I want to do with it. Then at night, you can do the same thing. It's important to remind yourself of what you did. You may do a million things. You mowed the lawn, you went to go grocery shopping, you spent some time with a friend, you got caught up in chores that you needed to do. It's going to become a whirlwind. At the end of each day, successful retirees, successful people in this sense, and by success, this has nothing to do with financial success. This has everything to do with emotional success, with happiness. At the end of each day, write down one win. What did you do today that moved you closer to the desired outcome that you have for your life? What did you do today that was in alignment with the goals that you have? This could be you spent 30 minutes and went to go get coffee with your wife. This could be you finally knocked out that home improvement project that you've been putting off and putting off and putting off. This could be you called an old friend that you haven't talked to in 5 years and had a chance to connect. But if we don't remind ourselves of our victories, as little as they might be, reminding ourselves of those victories is what builds that sense of positive momentum. It's what gives us that sense of, in this new landscape of retirement, when so many things can happen, reminding ourselves we're doing the things that are important to us. And if we don't do that, it's very easy to forget the progress that we've made towards the actual goals that we have. The second thing that happy retirees do is they stay active. Now, we all know the benefits of staying active when it comes to our physical health. A big one, we'll talk about this a lot, is it's not just the lifespan that we're looking at in retirement. Sure, you retire, you might have 30 years left of living, but what's your health span going to be? It doesn't matter if you have 30 years left to live if 25 of those years you're not healthy enough to enjoy the things that you want to do. So how do we expand our health span? How do we say if this is the lifespan that we have, how do we move our health span as close as possible to the lifespan so that we can get as much out of life during our retirement years? So of course staying active helps with this. Of course staying active helps us to live healthier, to feel better, to sleep better, to eat better when we're staying active. But the benefits go beyond that. There's mental health benefits to staying active. It reduces the risk of depression and anxiety. It improves cognitive function and memory, things that we want to make sure we're staying on top of in retirement. It enhances your overall mood and well-being. So it's not just the physical benefits that you're getting, there's tremendous mental benefits. Beyond that, there's also social benefits. How many times do you go to the gym and you see people who are clearly retired spending all day at the gym, not actually working out very much, but talking to other people there? It becomes a social club. It becomes a social interaction. And even if you're not getting all the physical benefits, the fact that you can go to a club, you can go to a gym, you can go to an exercise class and connect with other people, there's tremendous social advantages to that as well. So it helps to increase the social interaction and reduce feelings of isolation. And then finally, independence. Now, this, of course, correlates closely with the physical benefits of staying active, but the ability to perform daily tasks without assistance. So many times when I talk to retirees, they say, what's one of your goals for retirement? Or what are your goals for retirement? And without fail, not becoming a burden to my children is a pretty significant thing that people will say is one of their goals. Now, in some ways, this means financially I don't want to become a burden. But in other ways, it's I want to maintain my physical independence as long as possible so my child doesn't have to care for me for the final 5 years, 10 years of my life because I can't do things on my own. The things you do today will pay off in the future. I once heard this incredible analogy that actually relates really closely to investing. So when you invest, when you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s and you invest your 401k, there's no immediate benefit. In fact, it hurts immediately. That's less money that you can spend. You're doing all of this for a future benefit. You're saying, I'm going to be able to spend this money in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Well, think of working out like that. When you're working out, you're going to get the benefits in 20 years or 30 years, but you're also going to get the immediate benefits. Unlike investing, where investing actually hurts today, staying active helps today. It helps you feel better. It helps you be stronger. It helps you remain independent, not just today, but for the rest of your life. So there's some tremendous benefits to staying active, and this is one of the most important things that happy retirees do. The third thing that happy retirees do is they travel. Now, before you think of travel as having to be trips to Europe and trips all over the world, it doesn't have to be. Travel simply means exploring new places. This could be the hiking trail 60 minutes up the road, or this could be a trip halfway around the world to see places that you've never seen. But before you get it and say, okay, yeah, of course travel's cool, everyone knows that, well, here's some benefits that most people don't think of. Apart from expanding your horizons, apart from seeing new things you haven't seen and the wonder that comes with that, it also comes with improved mental well-being. Exploring new places can, in a very real sense, combat feelings of boredom, of depression, of isolation, while also improving cognitive function by exposing you to new environments and new challenges. When you have to navigate a new map in a city you've never been before, when you have to find a restaurant in a language that you don't speak, when you have to do these things, there's improved cognitive function that's happening, and it can be something that if you're feeling in a rut or if you're feeling bored or isolated, it can very much help you to get out of that. Traveling oftentimes comes with physical activity. Even if you think you're going to Hawaii just to sit on a beach chair by the beach, you might do that, but you're probably also going on hiking. You're probably walking to some fun dinner spots. You're probably walking along the beach or walking to see different cities. There's a lot of physical activity that oftentimes comes with traveling. So yes, travel by itself is a benefit, but it also starts to pull in other benefits that we're talking about as well. Some other quick benefits of traveling: social interaction. If you're joining a group tour or doing a different travel club, that can lead to new friendships. I talk to so many people that stay in touch with someone they met on a trip to Europe or on a trip to Africa or on a trip to wherever because there's oftentimes people doing it with us. It's lifelong learning. So one of the most important things we can do as retirees is to continuously learn. Don't feel like life is over. Don't feel like challenges are over. Continue to push yourself, continue to learn, and visiting different places, trying new foods, learning about history. All of this can provide a constant stream of experiences that continue your lifelong learning. And then finally, traveling can help to remove stress and anxiety. A lot of times retirees are anxious and they're stressed and they don't know why. But it's because they're in a rut. They're in the routine. They feel this lack of purpose or adventure, but the way that manifests itself in their life is through anxiety. And so sometimes by traveling, by getting out of your routine, by doing something different, by forcing yourself into uncomfortable positions sometimes, it's helping you to reduce stress, to reduce anxiety that comes along when retirement lacks structure, lacks purpose, lacks adventure. The fourth thing that happy retirees do is they spend time with loved ones. So here's how I want you to think about this. You might retire and think, okay, great, I have 30 years left to spend time with loved ones. But that's not the way you should be looking at it. I want to highlight a blog post real quick from someone named Tim Urban. He has a blog post called Wait But Why. It's a very popular blog post that really puts things into perspective. He wrote this blog almost a decade ago as a 34-year-old at the time, and what he wrote about is how many presidential elections does he have left? How many Super Bowls does he have left? How many times does he have left to jump in the ocean? So he talks about life from the standpoint of how many of these core events will he get to go through again. But then he takes a more serious tone with his writing. After talking about how many dumplings or Super Bowls or ocean jumps he has left, he goes on to say, but these aren't what I've been thinking about. Most of the things I just mentioned happen with a similar frequency during each year of my life, which spreads them out somewhat evenly through time. If I'm around a third of my way through life, I'm also about a third of my way through experiencing that activity or event. What I've been thinking about is a really important part of life that, unlike all of these examples, isn't spread out evenly through time. Something who's already done to still to come ratio doesn't at all align with how far I am through life. I've been thinking about my parents who are in their mid-60s. During my first 18 years, I spent some time with my parents during at least 90% of my days. But since heading off to college and then later moving out of Boston, I've probably seen them an average of only 5 times a year each, for an average of maybe 2 days each time. 10 days a year, about 3% of the days I spent with them each year of my childhood. So now what I want to do is share an image directly from his blog post that summarizes this. As you can see here, every single one of these images that you see is a day that Tim would have had with his parents. Now for you watching, you're probably thinking about this in the reverse. Not necessarily how much time you have with your parents, but maybe instead how much time you have left with your children. So as you can see here, all of these are days that have already gone by. And the majority of the days that we're going to have, parents with their children, are going to be gone by the time that children leave the house. So as you see here, when he marks out every day being optimistic, he has this line here. He says, it turns out that when I graduated from high school, I had already used up 93% of my in-person parent time. I'm now enjoying the last 5% of that time. We're in the tail end. So when I tell you that happy retirees spend time with friends and family, it's not just the act of spending time. It's that they recognize how precious that time is. They recognize that these are moments that aren't guaranteed forever. And in fact, if you're already in your 60s or 70s and have the ability to spend time with children, you've already used up probably 95% or more of the actual in-person days you will have with your children. So take this information, and as sobering as it can be, you can turn that into a deep appreciation for the time that you do have with friends and with family. Because this doesn't just go for the time that we have together left with our family. Going back to Tim's blog post that we're referencing, he says the same often goes for old friends. In high school, I sat around playing hearts with the same 4 guys about 5 days a week. In 4 years, we probably racked up 700 group hangouts. Now, we're scattered across the country with totally different lives and schedules. The 5 of us are in the same room at the same time, probably 10 days each decade. This group is in its final 7%. Meaning 93% of all the experiences that group had together are already done. It's the final 7% that we now have. So again, how can we take this that at first seems somber, take that and turn it into a deep appreciation for the time that we do have with friends and with family and make the most of that time? Then finally, the 5th thing that happy retirees do is they pursue hobbies and interests. Now, when we were kids, we all loved playing. We loved being outside, building things, doing fun things. And then you go through school, and then you get into college, and then you get a job, and then you get promoted, and then you raise a family, and then you buy a home. And all of these things take responsibility, and all that responsibility can be a wonderful thing, but oftentimes it pulls us away from the fun, the adventure, the sense of play that we once had as a child. Now, that's just a natural, normal part of life, and as much as we can fight that, great to have that balance between responsibility and adventure. But oftentimes, I see when people retire, that sense of fun and adventure has completely been removed from their life. Now, this isn't to say that if you don't go into retirement with hobbies and activities that you know you want to do, that's okay. That's very common. What it is to say is that you should absolutely commit to trying to find what you enjoy, trying to find that hobby, that interest. So don't feel pressure to know exactly what that's going to be, but don't let that hold you back from trying different things and exploring what a really fun retirement could look like. So as we wrap up this episode, the core point that I want to get across is that the key to a happy retirement isn't growing the largest possible portfolio balance. A large portfolio balance can help, but only to the extent that we do what happy retirees do, that we can use that portfolio to support the desired lifestyle that we have for ourselves and our family. So yes, focus on getting the financial things right, but the key to retirement is to pursue the things that are most meaningful to us and to bring that sense of purpose and satisfaction. One simple way to do that is to do what other happy retirees do, just like we outlined in this video. Root Financial has not provided any compensation for and has not influenced the content of any testimonials and endorsements shown. Any testimonials and endorsements shown have been invited, have been shared with each individual's permission, and are not necessarily representative of the experience of other clients. To our knowledge, no other conflicts of interest exist regarding these testimonials and endorsements. Once again, I'm James Knoll, founder of Root Financial, and if you're interested in seeing how we help our clients at Root Financial get the most out of life with their money, be sure to visit us at www.rootfinancialpartners.com.